Welcome back, Trove One, everybody. Today we're at home. We're in my new workshop at the new house. We don't have dogs barking like we did at the old house, but you probably will hear the chickens outside and some kids running around and making noise because they do that a lot. But today we've got to work on the Suburban. I should probably be doing things like mowing my yard and cleaning out my rain gutters and trimming trees and things like that, unpacking, but instead we're gonna put some lights on the old Suburban, but not just a couple lights. We've got a lot of lights. So I've got 10 of these X Pro 5-inch pods from Oxbeam. I reached out to Oxbeam a while back, wanted to see if I could get some sort of sponsorship or something, and they said, yes, what do you want? And I sent them a big long list of lights that they had that I thought would work really well on my Suburban for different applications. And they said, wow, that's a lot. How about we start with this? So they sent me 3 sets of these, and then because I wanted 10 lights, I ordered 2 more through my company, Tracer Customs, because we're an Oxbeam dealer, along with, we deal in a lot of different manufacturers over there. But I wanted 10, they sent me 3, I bought 2 more. So I did put some money into this because these were lights that I wanted to try out. So we're gonna get these installed, which is gonna be quite the project. I also have some LED bulbs here. I ordered these 6 months ago probably. These are a bi-color, so these do white and amber. So you toggle your light switch and you can get an amber headlight or a white headlight out of it. And I thought, that's really cool, I want to try it. And I just never have got them installed. The ones I have in there are working, there's some other brand. But I was like, I want to try these because I could then trigger all amber, including my headlights, or all white. So I can swap back and forth depending on if it's foggy, snowy, that sort of thing. So we're gonna try to start getting these installed. It's gonna be a long process. This is gonna take me a little while because I gotta fabricate some brackets and stuff to make these work the way I want. But we're gonna open these up and get started. All right, let's open one of these up and see what all we got in here. There's a few reasons I kinda picked these lights for what I'm doing. It's because some of the features they got. So they always give you stickers. Looks like it's packaged pretty well. We've got wiring harness stuff, some short adapter pieces here, not exactly sure what those are for, but I'll figure it out. Oh, those plug in right off the light here, or on the other end, probably right off the light.
There's 4 lights in here.
There's 2 lights in here. So these come, one of the things I like about these, they come with snap-on amber covers, so I can make any of these amber that I want. We've got the brackets here. We've got one hole in the bottom for mounting hardware, and then of course the light itself. And it also comes with this black cover, so you can take the cover off. You got a white light, or you can snap on the amber and have an amber light. These also they have the main white in here, but then on the edges here, these are an amber or a white. They can be used as a driving light, as a turn signal. They're like an accent light. So they've got little lights on the top and the bottom that you can switch between amber and white. That's what these extra wires. The harness on here is a 4-pin, and then this breaks those out. So you've got your white and your amber trigger wires here. So that is what the light looks like. And I've got 10 of them. One thing I am curious about is I've seen this on, hey, who took my measuring tape? Bring that here. I need that. Kids stealing my stuff. So a lot of manufacturers advertise, this is advertised as a 5-inch light, but I've seen a lot of them where the lens itself is not 5 inches. So I'm just kind of curious. I'm not gonna get into a bunch of specs here, but if you just measure the lens there, it is 4, and we'll be very generous and say 4 3/8. And from here to here is 3 3/4. So what they're usually saying is a 5-inch light is the total width of the light. The housing and everything, 5 inches. But the lens itself is 4 3/8 by 3 3/4. To me, I would get, and they may give the actual lens diameter somewhere, but if you look on the box, product size 5 inches. Well, the whole thing is 5 inches, but the light itself is not 5 inches. That's something to keep an eye out on, because I've got some 9-inch lights on my Suburban. Say they're 9-inch, but they're actually a 7-inch lens, which is a pretty big difference. So, all right, we're gonna start figuring out how to get these on the Suburban. So these are lights I've had on here for a while, and I measured them recently because I was curious. These are advertised as a 9-inch light, but the lens is 7 inches. Actually, the entire housing all the way across is only 8.5. So they've been good lights. I don't really have any complaints. I was gonna put a bunch of those on, but they discontinued the white ones. So I'm using Oxbeam because Oxbeam has a lot of really cool options, and they're pretty affordable, and they helped me out here. But I think it's kind of interesting that the lenses are that much smaller than what they're advertised on some lights. Kind of interesting. All right, here is my plan with these lights. We are going to put these right up here, all 10 of them, if they fit. If they don't fit, we might have to do 9, but I think I can fit 10 because I've got, this rack is about 50 inches wide. This is the baseline overland roof rack for these Suburbans. But I've got to make a bracket, so I want these right around here. I don't want them sticking up above my rack. I want them tucked down below or flush. That way, if I don't have the tent on and I want to carry canoes or something, my lights aren't sticking up in the way, because I don't always have a tent on this vehicle. And a lot of times I want to be able to throw a couple canoes on the top, things like that. So I want to tuck it down right across the front, up high, and just make a nice row. But I've got to build that whole bracket because there's nothing made that will do it the way I want to do it with these lights. So I'm going to get some steel, get some measurements, probably get some cardboard and mock up some stuff, and we'll start building some brackets to mount these things up with. So I've been looking through my steel pile, trying to figure out what I want to use. I've had a couple different ideas. I've thought about using a piece of straight extruded aluminum, just coming off the front of the rack with another piece and running all the lights straight, maybe canting some of them to the side. I've also thought about doing a curved, or I've thought about taking a straight one, doing notches, and kind of doing a little bit of just slight curves every 5-6 inches so each light would have a little bit different curve. Something to fan my lights out so you get a little bit more width out of them in the front. And I just happened to think of this. I got these old spools here. These were HDPE spools for installing fiber, and this just happens to be curved, and I'm thinking this curve might be pretty close. It might be a little too curved, but I think I'm going to take this up there, cut a chunk out of it, and find out if we could use this natural curve to do exactly what I want to do. All right, got this up here. We're going to cut a chunk out of here. My Sawzall blade is basically junk, but it's the only one I've got here at the moment, so I'm going to make it work. All right, we got a piece cut here, but the curve is too much. It's too curved. So I'm gonna take my persuader and see if we can persuade this into the right curve. And if that doesn't work, then I'll probably go with one of my other options and just build my own curved piece that is not necessarily curved, but more of notched and bent. But we'll see if the persuader can persuade it to the right curvature. I'm gonna make noise, Zai.
I like it noise.
You like the noise?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I've persuaded this. It's not exactly the curve of the windshield, but I don't know that I can get it much further without twisting this significantly. So I think I'm gonna go with this. We're gonna try it out and see. If I don't like this, I'll just build a whole different one. I might put them all on straight. It'd be a lot easier to do straight, but if I can get them curved, that light throw will just be that much more functional. So now I got this. I also have one of these assembled. So these have little bolts here. They've got a washer and a lock washer to bolt this on. This is 5 3/4 wide from bolt to bolt with a hair of wiggle room in there. So it's just a 1/16 or a 1/2 16th less than 5 3/4. I'm going to say 5 3/4 so I can get this all planned out and marked so I can drill my holes into this metal so I can bolt all these brackets on. So I want to get all these bolted onto here so I can hold this whole thing up there and tuck it down as low as I can so that I want it no more, I want the top of the bar flush with the top of the rack, or maybe even a little bit lower if I can. But I gotta make sure the lights aren't gonna hit the windshield. I have to figure out how far forward to push it to make them clear. So I kinda need to get this built before I can build the brackets that'll bolt it onto the roof rack. When we get this all mocked up, then I can get up there, get some measurements, and figure out my brackets to hold this up. All right, found a grinder in my truck finally, so I don't have to use the hacksaw anymore cutting this up since I broke my only Sawzall blade. So I gotta cut the ends of this off at the right length. I've got it marked here, so it's 50.5 inches wide, which will match the width of my rack. Then my brackets will be able to weld right onto the end of this. I got a couple of weld here to clean up. Need to clean this whole thing up. So I'm gonna do a little bit of grinding here, try to clean this thing up and get my ends cut off nice and clean. Now we've got this pretty cleaned up, about as clean as you're going to get it around here, and me working on things. Now we got to start making marks as to where to drill our holes so we can bolt this all together. So 25 1/4 is going to be our center. I need a square. We're gonna find a square. I'm gonna mark our center, and then I'm gonna start marking out from there and get all of our spots marked where we need to drill our holes. Make sure that's gonna work with our brackets, so all our lights fit on here. We'll start at the center with our center 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Work our way out. 25 1/4. It'll be right there. Close enough for government work. All right, from there. All right, I had to take a break, run in town, get a few more parts and pieces and drill bits I didn't have, but this piece is done currently. I've got all the holes drilled for the lights, and then on the back side I've got bigger holes, and that is so that I can take a socket and put it down in here and tighten up the nuts. So the way these work, the bracket has a little locking deal right there. So when you put the bolt in here, it sits down in there and locks in place like that. So I want to use that, and I didn't want the bolt sticking out of the top. So this is going to work out pretty good. The bolt will be below the top, but I'll be able to put this in here and snug it up. Yes, it decreases the strength of this, but this is a little bit overkill. Anyway, it's 1-inch square tubing. I actually don't know what wall thickness that is, but it's plenty heavy duty, even with the holes in it. And that'll also allow me to get a little bit more paint on the inside of this thing to help it not rust on the inside. So that's going to be the top, and then the lights will be bolted on to the bottom of it. But I got something to go to today, so I'm gonna have to take a break from this and come back another day. All right, another day, I'm back to work on the lights. I've got to get all these brackets put on. This one has it, but I gotta get it put on all the rest of them here. When we get all the brackets put on, then I'm gonna bolt them all onto this, and then we can test fit it to the vehicle and get some measurements and figure out how we need to build the next bracket. So let's get some stuff assembled. All right, we've got them all bolted up. Look at that. That almost looks professional. It's going to look really good when it gets done, if everything works. It's a pretty good curve to it, so that is definitely going to throw some light out in a lot of different directions, which is going to be really nice, especially when you're going through curvy roads on the back roads, to be able to light up to the side. My ditch lights are some of my favorite lights, so this is going to be fantastic. All right, we need to get these kind of fitted to the Suburban and see where we're at on it. All right, I'm gonna try to explain my process here. So we brought the lights out, we held them up here, see where they were gonna sit with the windshield, and this is right where the end of that bracket's gonna be. I just set that up there, ran it across the roof rack, and then slid it to where it went. Now I'm gonna take a piece of cardboard and figure out the shape of my bracket. It's not gonna be a rectangle. I'm gonna hit all 4 of these bolts right here. Most of the ones, Baseline has some pre-made. You can get stuff ready to bolt onto this for some of the different brands of lights. I don't know that Oxbeam will fit on any of them, but they make some brackets. Baseline makes some, and everything you can buy if you've got a Baseline light. But I'm making my own. So I'm gonna tie into all 4 of these bolts instead of just these 2. Most of the ones Baseline makes just ties in with these 2 bolts right here. I'm gonna tie in with all 4. So I'm gonna work on this a little bit and get me a shape, figure out how I want this. All right, here's my design currently. This will go on somewhere right about there. So that's gonna go on, that'll bolt on, and then weld onto the steel part that the lights are mounted on. I think it's gonna work. I might not cut this triangle out of it because that's a bunch of extra work to cut that triangle out. I haven't decided yet. I don't really need it for structural integrity, I don't think. I don't need that piece of metal in there, so it might look kind of cool to have that little cutout. But it's also going to take a little more time to do that cutout. So I don't know if I'll cut it out or not. I'll decide when I get the metal out. But I got to quit again for today. I'm just working on this as I have time. So I'm going to have to come back to this either later tonight after we get back or another day. So see you then. All right, guys, it's nighttime now, but I'm back. And I found my tripod. I always lose my tripods. Actually, kind of funny story. I left this on the bumper of the vehicle, the front bumper on the Suburban, and we drove all the way into town and all the way back down the interstate, and it didn't fall off. So I didn't lose a tripod today. Most of the time, I cannot find my tripods. Anyway, let's get some steel cut out. I've got these traced out on here, so I got 2 deals cut out. I think I'm gonna go ahead and cut those triangles out of the middle, so I'll probably cut those out first while it's in this big plate of steel, and then I'll cut the edges, and I'll probably drill the holes for the bolts before I cut it out too. So, time to cut some steel. All right, got both of these brackets done. Mostly happy with them. The triangle in the middle didn't turn out quite as clean as I'd like, but that's just the nature of the tools I got. They should do the job. So now I just got to weld them on in the end right here, and then that'll go onto the Suburban. But it's getting late. I think I'm gonna call it a night. I'll probably come back, try to get these welded up another day. Cause I gotta pull all of these lights off, weld these on, and then paint it all, put all the lights back on. Well, test fit it, then paint it, and put all the lights back on, etc., etc., etc. All right, done for tonight. All right, guys, it's another day, but I'm back out here working on this. So I've got these brackets all cleaned up, and I've screwed them to this board. This is the same width as my roof rack on the Suburban, so that's gonna help me maintain my width here. I just kind of made a jig. Just got a board screwed into that, and I've got this prepped here so I can weld. I gotta weld this end and this end, and hopefully everything is fairly straight here. I've tried to line it up, but my welding table's not perfectly flat, so it's just gonna be as close as I can get it, and that's just going to be hopefully close enough. I'm gonna tack it in place, kind of see how that's going, look at it a little bit before I weld it up permanent. So I'm gonna fire up the welder, do some welding tonight. And don't look too close at my welding, because I'm not a welder, but I can weld. About that much. All right, let's get started. I've got this welded up. It's not that pretty. I ground these sides down to make it all look flush and smooth, because that's what I like, and then I doubled up the welds on the back, which are definitely not pretty, but I think it's gonna work. If it's not strong enough, I'll add a gusset right in this corner here to beef it up, but I'm liking how it's looking other than a couple ugly welds. But I think it's gonna work. I'm gonna go test fit it on the vehicle. Unfortunately, it is pretty much dark outside, so I'm gonna go test fit it. If it fits, I'm gonna paint it, and then it can dry tonight, and I can bolt it on, put all the lights back on it, and bolt it on tomorrow. All right, I test fit it, and it's fitting pretty good, so I got it hanging up here. Throw a little flat black paint on it to match the roof rack. Hopefully tomorrow morning, I'll get up early enough to come out here and get it all bolted on there. I'll still have a bunch of wiring to do, but I can at least get it bolted on. Good morning, it's bright and early. Looks like our paint's dry. Let's get the lights put back on this thing, and we'll see if I can't get this installed on the Suburban this morning. All right, the light bar is on. Now we get the satisfactory job of peeling all the plastic off. It's ripping. Tell you what, I'm pretty excited. I think this turned out looking really good. I like the curve. This is gonna put out a lot of light. I still got to get them wired up. I'll be wiring them into, we've been running the aux beam 8 button little controller right here for a long time. So we've got this prepped for it. I just got to get some wiring adapters and stuff. The harnesses that came with it, they're good harnesses, but they're kind of a standalone harness. So I've got to get some adapters to plug all this in and then wire this up to the panel under the hood. I've also got to bring kind of a main power feed up to the roof rack so I can tie it all in. And eventually we're gonna have some lights down the sides. We're gonna have some lights in the back. So I got multiple lights that I've got to tie in. So I'm gonna run a multi-conductor wire up with a junction box onto the roof rack, and then we'll be able to tie in all the lights. But I don't have time for that right now. So we'll be back here shortly. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap up this light bar build video right here. Even though I don't have the wiring hooked up yet, I'm about to get started on that. But I just feel like the video is gonna get way too long if I do that, because I'm not only gonna be wiring for these lights, I'm gonna be wiring for future lights on the roof rack. And so I got a lot of wiring that I'm gonna be prepping, and I wanna be able to go over that in detail and to kind of have a wiring dedicated video so I can kind of show you what I'm doing to make this work, plus future lights and everything. So I'm gonna call this video here, and you'll just have to come back and see how bright these things and how awesome they're gonna be once I get them hooked up. So thanks for watching. If you liked it, subscribe and share. We really appreciate it when you do that. We're trying to grow here a little bit, and we're pretty excited about this. Thank you to Auxbeam for helping us out on these. And yeah, we're looking forward to using these. So stay tuned. Wiring video and getting these fired up is coming very soon. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.